So today what we want to do is set a bit of context around online fundraising and what's the value of a Google Ad grant, period. Then we'll talk you through how to go about getting one and how to set one up. And then Shiree is actually going to walk through how to actually set up an AdWords campaign, use things like keywords and negative keywords and long tail and all these words that I barely know what they mean. So that's where we're going today. And Nonprofit Supply Co. is actually a side company that we just started last month to do nothing but manage advertising for charities. So as we got into optimization and working with charities on their fundraising, we saw tons and tons of opportunity on the advertising side, both free in Google AdWords and paid with things like Facebook advertising to recruit donors and to raise money. So we've run multiple campaigns now where the ROI is positive and the net value of donor acquisition is actually really good. So we decided, hey, this is an area of opportunity, something that we know that when I was a marketing director, I didn't know, and I would have loved to pay someone to do it. So we're about a month into this new venture called Nonprofit Supply Co., which we're kind of doing on the side. So we're doing this as Shift and Nonprofit Supply Co. Eli mentioned Shift, that's our agency where we do outsourced fundraising. I can talk more about it. The only key thing that I want to highlight here is just mission. So I graduated nonprofit management grad school about 10 years ago, and fundraising is the only thing that I've ever done. And it's freaking hard. It's super, super hard. And the reason why I do it is for what fundraising leads to. So fundraising is super hard, but I actually don't care about raising money. It's what money does in terms of caring for the lost, the broken, the sick. So that's actually our mission. And we do that by partnering with people because I know fundraising. I'm not going to go to the downtown east side and do counseling because I don't know what I'm doing and I could never do it. But hopefully we know a little bit about marketing and fundraising. Here's the core team here. There's 3 of us full-time at Shift. Caitlin has just come on board as a client success, and then we've got Derek and Seth, who I mentioned on the advertising side as our kind of consulting experts. So we're going to get into some traffic-related business. But first, hopefully you guys in the back can see this stuff. I'll try to verbally explain it. But this is one of my favorite things to do after a night with friends. Is look at my search history the day after, or maybe later that night, and try to piece things together or understand what we talked about. So this is just one example where I had to blur one out because it was not appropriate. But we started talking about Emery Chan. He's a football player for Liverpool, which is the club that I support. And then this is definitely a typo, hollow core data. It doesn't mean anything. I've Googled it since. That was a mistake. And then are humans part of the animal kingdom? So now we're getting into a real discussion, right? Clearly none of us are, scientists or anything like that. And we go, humans, animal kingdom, animal kingdom, animal kingdom. And then we get to this, boss is up my ass. And then that didn't get us the result that we wanted, so then we went, my boss is up my ass. I still don't know what that means. I don't know what I was going through at the time with my boss. I've left, so maybe this was the beginning of the end, I don't know. But the point is this, is that we live in a search world, right? Whether it's our own experiences, we're going back and looking at it, and we can document our lives almost in search. There's so much information out there, which means it's hard to find, which means we have to search. And sometimes we search for things that we know we need. So after we look at our clients' analytics, one of the things that we see all the time is a huge spike in organic search that leads to donations. And a big reason why this is people just don't remember URLs. So they go to Google and search the cause, find the URL, and then they click it. Staff do that, right? So organic search results are kind of skewed because of how much we use search, even when we shouldn't. We're just super lazy animals in the animal kingdom. So we're up to 1.2 trillion searches every year on just Google alone. You can see this nicely shaped hockey stick graph, but increasingly we're search-based. It's also a weird search world. So I pull out a few of my favorite little memes here, when Google autofills, and this cartoonist made some nice photos. So here's one. Squirrels are the devil's oven mitts. First result, I don't know what this person was doing. This one, tomorrow I will scald myself with tea. I don't know why you'd have to Google that in the first place, but there it is. And never put jam on a magnet, because that will happen. You will just instantly combust. So our search results can kind of be weird, but in this world of search, Google is king. So what we'll see here is a bunch of years history going back from 2010 to now, and Google has 90% share of that 1.2 trillion plus market in terms of search. And that's relevant because we're talking about a Google-based program today, which means the market size that you and we and our clients can access is larger than any other search that we can do. We actually see real quality results with Bing, and we think it's because old people use Bing because it's on their Internet Explorer on their PC and they don't change it, but they're great donors. And so we see a lot of high value on Bing. So it's actually something we're looking into is Bing advertising. They just don't have the same kind of grant. But anyways, Google is king in search. That's what you need to know. So what does it mean to live in this weird search world where Google is king for you and your fundraising? That's what we're going to try to talk about today. And before we get into that, we just want to do a little bit of a recap of online fundraising. Because fundamentally, you can just throw a ton of traffic at a website or you can do a bunch of strategies. But if it's not rooted in good fundraising, it's really not going to be overly useful. So we're going to touch on online fundraising a little bit with a focus on traffic and AdWords. And then we'll get into the Google grant, and then Shiree will break it down. So this is our fundraising framework. So whether it's a campaign, a direct mail piece, online fundraising, whatever it is, we use these three components of every single campaign or how we think about things. So you have to earn someone's attention before you can increase their motivation, and then you have to reduce their friction. And those three things combined is what leads to fundraising. So you can, again, apply this to an event, an online campaign, whatever it might be. And what's cool is, while it's sequential, you need to learn about something before you can be motivated by it, before you can take action by it. All three are equally weighted. So if you have a ton of attention, but you can't increase someone's motivation or give them the impetus to act on that, then it's almost of no value, all that attention, right? That's where things like impressions come into play. And it's a vanity metric. We'll use that in a slide. 11 million people saw this ad. Who gives a crap? People saw an ad and walked away. It doesn't mean anything, in our opinion. If you only increase motivation but no one sees it, that's also low value, right? We converted 1 out of 2 people. That's awesome, 50%. But one person took you up on this offer. And then reducing friction. If you get a ton of people and they're all super interested, and then you make it very, very hard for them to sign up for an email, to make a donation, to attend an event, whatever it might be, then it's also reducing your overall impact. In the world of online fundraising, those three components translate into these three components. Traffic times average gift times conversion. And those loosely relate to traffic is earning attention, average gift is motivation, and conversion is conversion or reducing friction. And when you times those three things together, you can look at charts like this. So this comes from some friends in the South who are super nerds when it comes to digital fundraising. They're called Next After. And they work with the top 5% of charities in the US. So mega big charities, and do tons and tons of data work and optimization. And we've partnered with them to try to translate it to Canadians and then also to smaller charities, which is where we focus. But what you'll see is if you have a 25% lift in any one of those categories, traffic or conversion or average gift, it results in a 25% increase in revenue. And if you get a lift in 2, well then it's greater. And if you get a lift in 3, well then obviously it's even greater. And so we'll use this with our clients as a way to explain what it is that we're doing and show growth and progress. So this is a real chart from a recent report where we looked at their last 5 months of web activity. So they averaged about 6,000 visitors a month, which is a little higher than most of our clients actually. And we showed them if you can just increase traffic 25% or conversion 25% or average gift, this is what it means to your bottom line. The one that we highlighted for them, because their donation experience is atrocious, was conversion rate. So it's not what we're talking about tonight, but it is important. So we're saying if you can increase from 0.68 to 0.85, in 5 months it means $8,000 to your bottom line. And we're trying to make the case that their terrible donation system is worth an investment. So their board is saying, oh, we don't need a CRM or we don't need a new donation system, this one works fine. And what we're trying to say to them is you're losing revenue every single month to the tune of $8,000 over 5 months, more than $1,000. If you went to a board member and said, here's something that will get us $1,000 every single month, they'd be a lot more interested. So by trying to quantify things like traffic and web activity into revenue, it helps us make the argument, but hopefully it makes the whole organization understand the value of some of these things like traffic or conversion. So here's a bit of a correlation. This is the same client, and again, we were trying to show them it's not 100% correlated, but when traffic goes up, revenue goes up. Because conversion rate generally stays roughly around the same. So if we can increase traffic, we can increase revenue. So of these three things, when we look at working with clients, the two easiest ones for us as an agency to influence are the traffic or earning attention and the conversion or reducing friction. Increasing the motivation of donors gets into things like value proposition and positioning of offer, and you really need to understand donors and why they do or why they don't. And we do some of that work, but it takes a lot of time. And so we spend the most of our focus of saying, how do we just get more people coming to websites? And then how do we make it easier for them to take action on websites? So that's where we spend most of our time. And today's really focused on traffic and why we use Google AdWords, which is really a function of search marketing. So here's 4 clients. We'll use 4 of these clients that we've been working with for 10 months as a case study to show why some of this stuff works or why we do some of it. But for each one, organic and paid search is in the top 3 in terms of driving traffic to their website. And for 3 of them, it's over 70%. So they get over 70% of their traffic from paid or organic search, right? And now again, some of that's compounded by organic search because they're lazy and can't find URLs and things like that. But a high percentage of traffic comes from search, either paid or organic. And I'm guessing you're similar to them. It might be a little different, like one of the clients is social. They do a fantastic job on social, that's the first source. But for most charities that we've seen and analyzed and worked with, paid and search is by far the highest driver of traffic. So if we can do some things with them using a Google grant and some work on their website to increase this high value traffic, then we'll do that. So search marketing, and I'll quickly expose my lack of nerdery around these areas, but really breaks down into 2 sides. One is SEO, which is organic, and that's how you produce content and blog posts and landing pages and social media and shares, and then Google kind of crawls it and indexes it and kind of comes up with what's good content based on what people are searching for. And there's not a ton you can do to change that overnight. It's kind of over time, producing good content, being relevant, using maybe some of the same keywords, but some of the hacks that you could do with SEO maybe a decade ago are less and less relevant. Who's looking at shares and they're looking at relevance as opposed to just, we use the word donate to charity 3,000 times on one landing page. So it takes a lot of time, but you can do it. The other one is pay-per-click, and this is you just pay for it. You just spend more, or you be more relevant, which can lower your cost, but you're still spending to get it. And it works by creating ads that are very targeted for specific keywords. So you can say, hey, if you're looking for this, we'll give you this ad. And you can control the messaging, you can control the experience much more than you can on the SEO side. So there's good and bad of each, and so we recommend both. It's easier for us as an outside agency to do the paid side of things, but we'll also try chipping away at the SEO side of things. SEO is great because it's free, so content does cost time. It takes a lot of time to produce great content and manage communities online and manage sharing and focus on keywords and things like that. But in theory, it's free and it lasts a long time, right? So you can have evergreen content that can live forever. We have a client who had a blog post on Justin Trudeau explode in the fall, and it's still driving tons and tons of traffic because people are still searching for Justin Trudeau and they're still coming back to his site. So that one piece of content is living on for a long time, whereas an ad, for it to live on, you have to keep paying. So there's some benefits to the organic, and then some of the benefits to the paid side, like we mentioned. You have a lot of control. You can show exactly what you want, when you want. You can do testing, you can figure it out. So the beautiful thing about today is you can do paid advertising for free. So the Google Ad Grant gives you up to $10,000 of search-based advertising every month that you can use, and there are a few limitations that we'll talk about. But you can play in the paid world, but you don't have to actually pay for it. And that's why we started this business, because we had a grant when I was a marketing director and I could barely spend $1,000. I didn't have the time, I didn't have the expertise, I didn't know what I was doing. And so we actually outsourced it at that point to experts who all that they do is this. And we found it to be very beneficial, so that's our same model. So you can do this, and we'll walk you through how you can do it. And if you have the time and expertise and want to try it, like, awesome. We're here to help. You can get applied. We'll try to do some teaching. But for sure, on the optimization side, if you go, here's a couple $100, just make it work. That's kind of what the model's about. So here's an example of it. So one of our clients here in Vancouver is First United, that Derek did a lot of work with. So shout out to Derek. But if you search volunteer downtown Eastside Vancouver, their ad shows up #1. Awesome. That's great. So it's a very targeted search term, and we're showing them a very targeted ad. Here's what you can do. You can give meals, and it'll go to their landing page, which hopefully is good, and they have a form that you can fill out, which is also hopefully good. Now, without this paid strategy, without the ad, this is what the page would look like. No First United. Page 2. No First United. Page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6. It's not on the first 10 pages. So we need to work with them on their SEO strategy. We built a new website, so it's taking some time for crawlers and things like that. But we went from number 1 to non-existent simply because of an ad grant. And in the world of Google, it goes something like this. Page 1, great. 2, 3, Beyond that, what are you looking for? Right? This is most of our experience. How many times do you go past page 3 even? So the opportunity with something like the Google Ad Grant is it can kind of shortcut your lack of SEO perhaps, or lack of content, to jump and be relevant to people looking for certain things that relate to your cause. Especially for things like volunteering and thrift stores and events or experiences. Very, very few people are searching like donate to X charity or join board of or something like that. So a lot of it is more about your content and easier ways to get involved. So here's just an example of when we took over their traffic, and then the orange bar is the paid traffic. And so it's not the best visual, but here's what ended up happening. So forget this impression metric, that's useless. But for these 10 clients, we spent over $260,000, 174,000 visitors to a website over those 10 months. And their traffic increased 131% compared to that same time period last year. And so that's just 4 clients. The other nice thing is, since we've been able to add conversion tracking and do some work with them, the one client that does donations, they've had 25 donations in the last 3 months. And we've secured over 200 emails for 3 of the clients in the last 3 months. So not as great as $262,000, but those are real donors, those are real emails, and it's cost the charity just our fee to manage it, but you can manage it for free and take advantage of Google's ad grant. So hopefully you can see some of the value of something like $10,000 of search advertising each month when used correctly. So what does this mean? It means you need a Google ad grant. We recommend it for every single client. The application process that I'll walk through is simple. Anyone can do it, and even if you're spending $500 a month, it's useful. It's not as useful as if you're spending $5,000, but it's still useful. So everyone should sign up with TechSoup. If you haven't, that should be your one key takeaway, because you'll have to do it, and you should at least get the grant. And whether you do it yourself or use us or Derek, find some volunteer, take advantage of it. I'm going to keep going actually, and we'll do questions a bit later. So the Google Ad Grant itself, we have some screens and kind of walk you through the process, but ultimately, Google redid their website, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, 9 months ago, and it's really simple. They walk you through it, they tell you what to do, they've got great support resources. It's pretty straightforward. Derek was mentioning there's 2 snags. One of them is when you actually go to create your account, you should do it in an incognito browser, because if you're logged in through your personal Gmail or a work Gmail, it'll get them confused and it'll say you don't have an account or you do have an account, and you're like, what the heck? So do it in an incognito browser. And then the second thing, the only trick is that to enroll in Google Ad Grants, you do need to create your own AdWords campaign. So you're going to have to know enough to just create an AdWords campaign to get it set up. And then from then you can add a bunch of more campaigns and figure out what's going on. But ultimately, if you can Google it, Google Ad Grants, you'll find their site and it walks you through the process. It's quite straightforward. There are some eligibility requirements, so it's open to nonprofits here in Canada as well. So you can be a nonprofit or registered charity with some exceptions. So governments, hospital or healthcare organizations, and then a lot of schools, childcare, universities can't benefit from this, with some exceptions. So they have a full listing of who gets approved and who doesn't, and that's part of the TechSoup authentication. But by and large, almost every charity and nonprofit in Canada can qualify for this and get it within a few days. This is what that application screen looks like, and this is where you're going to need that TechSoup validation token. That's the main requirement, just so Google knows that you're actually a nonprofit or a charity within a certain criteria and a certain status. That's the biggest kind of barrier to stop. And then if you're incognito and you can make one campaign, you're good to go. This is a new feature that they've kind of released. It's called AdWords Express. And it's kind of built for small businesses and potentially small charities where you don't have the time to optimize and set up a bunch of campaigns and test and convert and track and do all the awesome nerdy stuff. You can kind of create one campaign and kind of fill out a few questions, and then Google will kind of do some work for you with their robots and humans and stuff like that. So if you have like 0 time, it's good. Obviously you won't get as much customization and results and stuff like that. So that's why our clients, obviously, because we manage it, we recommend it, but we prefer the full thing. But if you don't have time, you can do Express.
And if you pick one option, are you locked to it, or is it?
You should be able to go back and forth. If you get the Google Ad Grant and are having tons of success, yay, they do have something called Google Ad Grants Pro. So that is where you're spending your $10,000 a month. You have to spend it in 2 out of the past 6 months. You have to show conversion. So you actually have to show them that you've had an email sign up or a donation or a download from an ad. That's the biggest barrier beyond the max spend, but a lot of clients that we've worked with have a hard time doing conversion tracking. And you have to have a high click-through rate, only above 1%, like lower than 1% is really bad, so it shouldn't be hard to miss that one, or it should be hard to miss that one. You need to be in good standing, so you're basically not like funding terrorism and things like that. Like you need to, be above board. So it's really for high volume search. So if you're kind of a national organization, you kind of stand a better chance. Again, if you have content that people search for, you have a better chance. And it takes the shackles off. So one of our clients got this just last month. They've already spent $27,000 this month. And this is what their kind of chart looks like. So they've been hovering around $3,000 a week or so. And now it's up to $9,000 a week, which translates into visits, which translates into emails, which translates into revenue. So if you can get there, then it's great. And that's one of the things that we try to focus on with our clients to see if we can get them there. So I mentioned conversion tracking. It's awesome if you do it. Shiree can maybe talk a bit more in the questions, but Tag Manager is kind of a new-ish tool that you can put on a website. You can manage and track conversions. In the past, you kind of had to have a separate success page. So after someone made an email sign-up, it'd have to have a thank you page. After someone made a donation, you'd have to have a thank you page. That's still best practice, and we would recommend having that because it's your first touch point to say, thank you for your donation, your tax receipts in the mail, or contact us, or here's a video of your impact, or here's the next steps you can take. It's still a great touch point in the donor journey, so we still recommend it. But it's also great for tracking because then you can set up goals and funnels and analytics, and also conversion tracking can be easier that way. So then that's what you'll kind of have more or less to do conversion tracking so that you can tell Google and yourself that the ads are working, that you're getting new donors, that you're getting revenue, and that you're getting email signups. So this is just an example of the back end of AdWords with a client and what it can look like with this conversion field. And then, if things are going really well and things are super awesome, you can connect your analytics to your AdWords, and then your donation processing system will be implemented with e-commerce. And so what that means is that all these beautiful Google products will work together. And then you can look at certain reports like this. So this is just an analytics, and we filtered it by email signups, so you can see, oh, this campaign has got me 14 email signups in the last bit, and how much that's actually cost me. So in this scenario, we'd say we're spending $5,000 here, but we're only getting 3 emails, whereas we're spending $3,300 here and getting 14 emails. Maybe we should invest more of our time and energy in this campaign because we get more emails. Now, absent conversion and absent linking, that's really hard to figure out. So absent these things, you're just kind of throwing spaghetti at a wall and hoping it trickles down, but you don't actually know. So conversion tracking kind of lifts the blinds and lets you know what's going on. And then what's great about e-commerce is it actually ties in actual monetary goals, so how much someone donated, so you can come up with these beautiful metrics: traffic, average gift, and conversion. There's those 3 metrics again. You can see it in analytics, you can see by campaign, you can see by source, you can see by ad, you can see by campaign, what is bringing in revenues and donors, and you can see it right in analytics. So it takes a little bit of work to get that set up, and a lot of donation systems, especially third-party ones. So if you click from your site and then you go to Canada Helps, or you go to Chimp, or you go to a lot of Blackball products, or Gift Tool, a lot of third-party donation processing vendors make e-commerce almost impossible because it's jumping to another site. So for e-commerce to work, it's best if it all lives on your own site. And that's a fundamental principle, whether it's email signups or donations or downloads. The more that this stuff can happen on your website, the more that you can control the experience, but you can also control the data. If you're always linking off to other things, it's really hard to know what's going on and get cross-domain tracking and tools. It gets really complicated. So this is the dream for us, is when sometimes it's taken 9 months for us to get there, where we can have analytics and AdWords and conversion to get set up. Because of tools or web limitations, like you'll need code snippets, and sometimes they don't control their own websites. They got to contact a webmaster, and he's on vacation, and blah blah blah. So anyways, this is the kind of holy grail of what you want to get to. So you can look at a report and see how much revenue you're getting each month, where it's coming from, and the value of your paid and free Google Ads. All right, I will pause there just for a few questions about Google AdWords itself, online fundraising, some of the basics. Shiree and Derek can help me out if you have questions that I'm too dumb for. And then Shiree will walk through kind of AdWords basics and some stuff like that. So any questions now before we get too far down? Yes?
The plant limited kind of just one campaign, or can you run multiple campaigns at once?
Yeah, you can run multiple campaigns. So we'll go into the architecture, but it's campaigns, ad groups, and ads. And you can structure campaigns differently. They could be geographic, they can be by focus, they can be campaign and geographic. So it depends on the strategy, how you want to set up campaigns, but you get kind of unlimited campaigns. Sometimes you don't want a lot of campaigns because it gets hard to track, but you're not limited by amount of campaigns.
So my organization has multiple domain names.
Yeah.
Can I run campaigns on multiple domain names or just my primary?
You cannot. You can only run them on one domain. We're going back and forth with Google right now as far as what the domain has to be. So we have a client who has their official domain, and then they have kind of this campaign brand, and that campaign brand is really what they want and we want. And so we're trying to figure out with Google, let's say, if we're only choosing one, but can we choose this one as opposed to the legal one? And we've heard different things. So, but for sure, you can only get one domain. So our workarounds to use their 501c3 in the States to get a new grant and use the other website for that grant. So we'll see if that works. Yeah?
Can you give a 1-minute description of what Google Ecommerce does? It's the first I've ever heard of it.
Yeah, okay. It's kind of like Google Analytics for web traffic, except it's just for purchasing. Right? So in your donation processor, I mean, it comes from e-commerce. Where's Eric? Eric would know. He's gone. So like in that e-commerce world where like shopping carts and conversion and purchases, that's where it comes from. And so you just add in some code snippets onto your website, and then it'll pull in the transactions of how many donations and how much was given, and it'll populate it in Google Analytics.
So instead of just recording the domain, like the URL, it's also recording the dollar amount, which is magic.
Yeah, correct. So that's a really good point. Shiree says you can also track, when it comes to advertising, your source. And so for us, net revenue is a key driver of what we do. I don't care about efficiency metrics. I think that's a local prop. So net revenue is what we care about. And so to calculate net revenue, you need to know how much you spend and how much you raise. And e-commerce allows you to tie it in directly at a campaign level, as opposed to saying, here's what we spent, and then we dig through, sheets and sheets, and this person donated on this month. And that's what Shiree had to do in the past. And then you're like, we think we raised about this much, but you don't know. That's kind of what it does. Yeah.
So is that directly?
Yeah.
Sorry, Brady, can you just repeat the question to the rest?
Yeah, the question is that's only when you accept donations on your website. So in every case for us and our clients, it's been, if it's third-party, e-commerce won't work. You can plug in Google Analytics to third-party platforms, and you may be able to do cross-domain traffic tracking with e-commerce. In theory, it's possible. The problem that we've ran into is the vendors have no time. They don't want to go into their product and import your code on these specific pages because the product lives on all the different, sites. So in theory, it's possible. In reality, it's almost impossible. So for e-commerce to really work, you need to process donations on your own site. Something like IATS payments would work. We use Stripe all the time. But if you have your own donation processor or control it on your site, you should be able to manage it. If you don't, you can still set goals. So you can still have goals for donations that end on a thank you page. And you can still calculate the number of goals, and you can get a sense of where they're coming from. But it's less reliable because people leave, they go into a vacuum, and then they come back. And it's not as reliable. And you don't get dollar amounts. So that net spend thing, again, gets really tough to calculate because you can't draw a straight line from their donation. Any other question? Yeah?
Yeah, so it feels slightly hard to explain, but essentially the organization has many departments, and each department has a website. We all have parent URL. So any campaign would have to be in
Potentially, the user gets penalized, by clicking here and then going there. And more than likely, Google will penalize you as well because you're going to a page and it's based on things like relevance and quality score that they'll talk about. And it's going to be really hard to be really relevant when you're just pumping people onto a different page. But we're thinking through that strategy for someone who has the same type of thing. So again, I still think there's value, right? Because even if you get 500 people to this page and 10 make their way to the real page and 1 makes a donation, it could be worth it. But
We're basically thinking it would end up being a blog post. So you have an event, you write a blog post about the event, and then you get to learn more about the event.
yeah, that's probably a better strategy. Well, it's probably a both-and strategy. Yeah, so blog content is great. It's a little tougher to keep on top of because unlike a landing page, which is kind of static that you can create a campaign to and it can run and run and run, blog posts is we got to do blog posts, we got to put an ad on it. So it takes more management. But our client who's gets the most traffic, that Justin Trudeau one, it's basically all fueled by blogs. So we've created campaigns based on like politics or euthanasia or marijuana or whatever it is, and then we point ads at the different blog posts. So yeah, it would be a both-and type strategy. Yeah?
Just got a question. What's your acceptance program? How long are you?
Yeah, good question. In perpetuity, but you can lose it. So again, if you do things like lie and cheat and fund terrorism, if you don't check in every 90 days, they can revoke your status. There is some fine print where they can revoke your status for any reason, or they can deny applications for any reason. And we've applied for Pro with a couple clients where we met all the criteria and they just kind of said no. And so it's kind of there. But once you get it, you kind of have it forever. You can lose it if you aren't active. And we've had a couple clients where they've been inactive and we've had to go through the process to reactivate it. But basically, like Google wants you to have this. They want you to spend money. They talk about how great they're changing the world through free advertising. Like they want you to have it, they want you to use it. So you got to do some pretty bad things to actually use it. You have anything to add there?
No, just make sure you do something every 90 days. You have to go and add they'll suggest campaigns to add a campaign every 90 days, put in your calendar.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be a great piece of activity. You just need to be active every 90 days, otherwise you'll lose it. All right, we'll have more questions at the end, and then we're around. You can talk to us, but I'm going to pass it over to Shiree, who's going to get more nerdy and give you an AdWords overview.
Yeah, nice.
Hey guys, so I'm going to go over AdWords, but first, I know some of you guys said you're not too familiar with what Google Ads are, so I will let Google explain to you what they are.
Hi, it's Allie with AdWords, here with the next step in our What You Need to Know About Online Marketing series. So far, we've looked at the basics and benefits of online marketing and assessed the readiness of your website. Now let's introduce you to AdWords, Google's online advertising program. Take a look at this.
Online advertising has a language all its own, and if it sounds like a foreign language to you, you're not alone. But it's important to get comfortable with the terms so that you can make the most out of your AdWords investment. To help make sense of it all, here's a scenario. Owen is planning a wedding, and Brenda is a photographer. Brenda uses AdWords to advertise online to people who are looking for a photographer. This is one of her ads. Brenda takes 3 types of photos: babies, real estate, and weddings. She uses different ads for each area of her business. Each collection of ads makes up an ad group. Brenda assigns to each ad group the words and phrases that are relevant to that part of her business. These are keywords. AdWords uses keywords to help decide which ads to show to people searching for things online. Brenda's 3 ad groups make up a campaign. The campaign is where Brenda decides big picture things like her preferences for the devices her ads will show up on and how much she spends. Owen types experienced wedding photographer into google.com. The phrase experienced wedding photographer is his search term. He sees two types of search results. Organic search results, located in the middle of the page, are the websites that match Owen's search term. No one can pay to appear in these results. The second type of results, paid results, are usually located at the top, bottom of the page. These are ads from businesses that are using AdWords. In most cases, an advertiser is charged when someone like Owen clicks one of these ads. Does Brenda's ad appear when Owen makes a search? That depends. Whenever someone uses Google to search, there's an option that determines which ads appear and in which order. Two main factors determine the outcome. How much an advertiser is willing to pay for a click, which is a bid, and something called quality score. Quality score is an estimate of how relevant and useful your ad and the page on your website it links to are to someone seeing your ad. Together, bid and quality score determine where and if Brenda's ad appears on Owen's search results page. Bids and budget are different. Your bids affect how much you'll spend each time someone clicks one of your ads. Your budget affects how much you'll spend each day on your entire campaign, which influences how often your ads are shown. As it turns out, Brenda's ad appears on Owen's search results page. This is an impression. Owen clicks Brenda's ad to find out more on her website. This is a click. Owen likes what he sees on Brenda's website and hires her to photograph his wedding. Brenda's ad has gotten Owen to do something valuable. Hire her for an event. This is a conversion. Owen is a satisfied customer. Brenda is a happy advertiser. These are results.
In addition to bid and quality score, AdWords uses the expected impact from your ad extensions and other ad formats to determine which ads appear and in which order. Ad extensions are pieces of information you can add onto your ad, like a phone number or a call button, more links to specific pages on your site, or your business location. AdWords estimates how extensions and other ad formats you use will impact your ad's performance. So even if your competition has higher bids than yours, you can still win a higher position at a lower price by using highly relevant keywords, ads, and extensions, all of which we'll cover in the next video guide. So now that you know how AdWords works, let's make sure it's a good fit for you. Click the button to continue to the next video in the playlist.
So there's a few caveats to that. Nonprofits, you have a max of $2 per bid per keyword, and your daily budget is capped at $329. So you can bid below $2, which we never really do because it doesn't really make sense. And your ads are only available on the search network as text ads. You cannot do display network or any other type of advertising, but you can do mobile search network. So they went over the structure a little bit, but I'll dig into it a little more. You have your campaign, which is your overarching thing. Like we said, you can have multiple campaigns. So maybe you have an email campaign, a volunteer campaign, and I don't know, like a Christmas campaign. Within each campaign, you have your ad groups. These are sets of ads with similar keywords. And then within your ad groups, you have your ads. So I had a little bit of fun making this little project. The blue and the orange are your campaigns. And then you have your keyword groups inside of that. And then from those keyword groups, you have your ads. So the keywords are kind of what you put into your ad group, and you have your ads. And you can do multiple ad groups within a campaign. So maybe each ad group is focused on a different location, or you have regular volunteer, or you have an event coming up and you need volunteers for that specific event, so you can make 2 different ad groups for that. So setting up a campaign, when you go into your AdWords account, you won't see all of this stuff because you won't have any AdWords yet, but you will see a big red button that says campaign. And select that and click on Search Network only, because this is a Google grant. Then from there, you have come to this screen, and don't worry about not being able to see it properly. I'll go into in a second. So the first thing is going to ask for your title. So if it's a volunteer campaign, you're going to put volunteer campaign into your title. The type will only be search network. You can show it on all devices, so that's desktop or mobile. And we just started using mobile for some of our clients, and it's going pretty well. Locations. Only pick the locations where your charity or nonprofit is relevant. If you are a small local charity only working in Vancouver, it doesn't really make sense for you to advertise in Nova Scotia or Ontario. Language as well. If your website is only in English, or if your ad is going to be in English, make sure that you are only selecting those languages. You don't want to be showing up for someone looking for a French website and you don't offer that. Your bid strategy will be manual, cost per click, because of the Google grant limitations at $2, and that's $329 a day. Delivery method is standard, and right now we're not going to go into ad extensions, so you can just select none. So here are the 3 steps to setting up an ad group or a campaign. First, you create your keyword list, then you group your keywords and theme them, and then you create your ad. Starting with the keyword list, there's a few different types of keywords that you can put in. The first one is broad match. So these ads show for similar phrases or relevant variations of that word, and you just enter these in as normal, separated by commas. The next one is broad match identifier or modifier. So that word that you put in has to be included in that search term when someone searches for water, and you don't indicate that with a plus sign next to the word. So that word will have to be in the user search term. Phrase match means that people will search, your ad will show for searches that have that exact phrase or a close variation of that phrase. It doesn't have to be exact. And you put those in quotations. Exact match is only for that phrase with no other words, and that's in the square brackets. Negative is probably more relevant. For charities, broad match and broad match modifier are good, and negative because if you're a charity that focuses on water, you don't want to be showing up for people looking for water parks or water coolers, so you get rid of those by adding a dash next to them. So, hot tip. Google has a keyword planner where you can look up different keywords, get different ideas, find out what the bid, the costs are for that, the click-through rate for keywords are, and the impressions certain keywords generate. So if you just Google keyword planner, you'll find it. After you've come up with your keywords, you want to group them and theme them. Have you created branded keywords? Do you have general keywords? Keywords focus on specific programs or pages. Do you have forms to fill out on your website? Come up with some keywords that have to do with those forms. So these are just some ways to start thinking about relevant keywords and groups. After you've grouped them, now you get to make your ad. When making your ad, think about what pages you want to direct users to. They should correspond to what the ad is for. So if you have a volunteer sign-up ad, don't send them to your homepage, send them to the page where they can find more information out about volunteering for your charity. So for each group of keywords, create 2 to 3 ads using the keywords in that group, and make sure in your keywords you include a call to action. We think we're smart, but we won't do anything unless you tell us to do something. So that might be learn more, sign up now, things like that. So your ad details. Google changed the limits like 2.5 weeks ago, or the format of ads. So the new ones, you get 2 titles now. Each is 30 characters, that includes spaces and punctuation. And then you get ad text, which is like a little description where you can include your CTA, and that's 80 characters. So here's the before and after. Before you only got 1 title, and I think it was limited to 25 words or characters. And then you got 2 text lines, which were about 25 characters. But now your headline is bigger and more prominent, and you can add more text into the description. So the orange box is what it looks like now. So you've got your list, you've grouped them, now what do? You go into Google and you start creating your groups. So once you've set up a campaign, it'll link you to creating your first ad group. enter your landing page. This is where the user will be directed when they click on your ad. And then make your ad group name. So maybe it's volunteer sign up for half marathon. And then your bid, sometimes that'll be automatically filled because when you set your campaign settings, you also set your bid settings. And this is always going to be $2. And then you enter your keywords. So if you've created an Excel file with your keywords, which I kind of recommend you do, you just copy and paste them into there. Remember to add your pluses, your negatives, your quotes for any types of broad match or negative keywords you have. And it'll also give you group ideas there too. Then you start creating your ad. So first you want to enter the final destination for your CTA. So when they click on that ad, that's the link they're going to get to. These slides were made just before Google changed them, but it'll still look similar. So you enter your 2 headlines now, and then you enter your text in the bottom section. And remember your CTA, it is super important. And then you enter your display URL. So sometimes our URLs look really ugly and they're like ABCD, 1, 2, 3, blah, blah, blah. But your display URL can look a lot nicer. So it can be like www.shiftcharity.com/volunteer. And that's what will be displayed when your ad shows up. After you click next there, you'll see a preview of your ad, the amount, the reach that Google estimates and how much they'll estimate they'll spend. And then you click Save and Finish. Then you'll come to this page where you can see all your different ad groups. From here, you can pause or start a campaign, and you can see how it's doing. So you can see the cost per click, the impressions, the click-through rate. If you click on the ad, then you'll see the different keywords. And from here, you can see how each keyword is performing, whether it's your bid is too low or your bid is too high. It doesn't really matter if your bid is too low, that's fine. It matters if your bid is too low. It doesn't matter if your bid is too high. And if you have any low performing keywords, you can start modifying your group, getting rid of those keywords. If you have higher performing keywords, you can maybe add some of those keywords to more ads. So you've made some ads, now what do? So Brady kind of talked about conversion tracking and looking at analytics and stuff. There are a few key things to look at. And this is different. If you're going for Google Grant Pro, then you might not care about all these metrics. But if you just want to optimize and look at it, then you might. So click-through rate, how many of your ads are being clicked on. If you want a Google Grant Pro, this matters. You need to have that 1% that Brady mentioned earlier. Conversion rate, how many ads, click-through rate doesn't matter. Conversion rate is 1%. You have to have 1% to qualify for Google Grant Pro.
Click-through rate.
Oh yeah, sorry. Click-through rate is 1%, I had it right. And then your conversion rate. Conversion rate you'll only be able to track if you have the conversion setting, the tracking code set up on your website, which most charities can't do. And then your quality score. So if you're going for Grant Pro, this is a little bit of a fine line. You need to have a higher quality score. But if you're looking to max spend, which you also have to do to qualify for Grant Pro, you don't really care. So you have to care, but you can't care. But a higher quality score leads to better placement. So even if someone has a higher bid on a keyword, if you have a better quality score, you will show higher. So after that, you have the initial setup is probably the hardest, but from there, you eliminate low performing keywords, add negatives. Negatives are some things that sometimes you might not be able to add right away. If you have Google Search Console on your website, you can see what people are searching when they end up on your page. And we have a client, and they show up when people search for Spencer's Gifts, and that's not relevant at all to what they do. So that's one of our negatives for them. Eliminate low-performing ads. Even though this is free money, you don't want to be wasting your budget, especially if you're maxing your spend every day, on ads that aren't doing anything for you. Create ads for new relevant topics. So you have new blog posts, and that's performing well. Go for it. Ads based on holidays and seasons. And what we've started experimenting with is optimizing ads to display at a certain time of day. So with this one client, we started looking at their Facebook and seeing when their users are most active on their Facebook page, which doesn't necessarily correlate, but it's giving us an idea. And if your users are more active with you in the afternoons or after work, but your ads are showing in the morning, you're not reaching who you should be reaching. That's it. Any questions?